wanted to do a quick video on our garden so far this year. If some of you know, or maybe some of you don't know, but last year I started this project of building hügelkultur beds in our garden. And so I kind of wanted to give you an update of how that's coming along, and maybe some of the things that I plan on doing, would do differently, some of the things that I've learned, and just everything, and kind of give you an update. I remind you again, our garden is not the prettiest garden, but it is functional and it is a work in progress. So give some grace, y'all, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of just walk around and show you my garden. Okay, so this first thing I wanted to show you is my grapevine, one of my grapevines. It's doing really well. It's getting a lot of grapes this year. This took about 3 years to really come along, and I want to kind of explain what I did here on our soil. And of course the weeds are always, you know, such a big problem in here, but you'll notice we have all of these wood chips in here, and those wood chips are probably about at least 6 inches deep down in there to just add a lot of bedding and a lot of moisture, and hold in a lot of the moisture in the ground. And I hopefully that is the reason why my grapevine has been actually starting to take off and to do really well. We started off with these really struggling, the cows ate them and all kinds of stuff, but this one actually is really starting to take off this year. Its leaves are still pretty small, and I do fertilize it. I do give it a fish emulsion probably every month. I'll go through and I will fertilize this one. But I listened to a seminar on how to grow your trees, and this was one of their recommendations, although I already had this grapevine planted beforehand, and so we were kind of limited with what we could do. But I did go ahead and just kind of follow the same techniques, which was to kind of dig out a nice area around the tree and then just fill it with a bunch of mulch. We really lucked out last year. The power company that we have here came through last year and trimmed a lot of the trees around the telephone lines and around the wires. And when they came out to our house, we actually had them leave the mulch that they had cut off from all the trees here, and then some from some of our neighbors. Fortunately, there wasn't any diseases in it. I guess that's always a risk that you're going to take when you do that. But hey, it was free, and we've been using it for a year. And so I did, if you can see back behind me, is the start of an orchard that we've got going on. And I did the same concept around all of those trees. And I'll show you some of the trees. The apple tree. Now this apple tree that I'm about to show you actually had its taproot eaten off some by a gopher last year. And it wasn't even a year old. And so it really struggled, but it's actually starting to come back right now. So let me show you that. So this is our apple tree. And look how good she's doing. I think it's kind of hard to see it from that direction because of where the sun's at. Well, kind of sun. All the clouds are starting to come in. I'm starting to feel a few drizzles. But she is doing good. Now, she doesn't have any blossoms yet, so I'm hoping that by next year she will actually start getting some blossoms. And I've got to do some pruning. If you can see right there, there's some low growth coming on, or actually those might even be some suckers. I need to cut those off. And something else I wanted to show you is this plant right here. This plant is a Comfrey plant. And if you have an orchard and you grow trees, then you might know this already. But Comfrey and of quite a few others, as well as sweet potato. And I've got sweet potato next to my peach tree that unfortunately did die, and it's just got some suckers on it. But they do a few things. The main thing that they do is they draw the nutrients up from the ground and the soil up to the level where the tree roots are at. Now, the only thing to keep in mind with comfrey is that you need to chop it down before it actually gets its flowers and blooms, because then it's going to take the nitrogen back out that it just pulled up, because it's pulling up those nutrients so that it can use it for when it flowers. So the true comfrey I have planted next to this apple tree, and when I planted it next to the apple tree, this is when the apple tree really started to take off. So I don't know if it was just coincidence, probably so, but that true comfrey should really help. And not only that, but true comfrey is a medicinal, so wherever you can get a medicinal into your garden, I think is a really good idea. And it's got a lot of really good uses. You can look up those type of uses, but one is it actually will help shrink cancer tumors. So cancerous tumors, I guess I should say. And so yeah, I've got that, and sweet potato is the exact same thing. And there's some others that I'm not quite as familiar with, but I am familiar with those ones. And then let me show you something else that we've got. Okay, so wait a minute, I've got to backtrack. So, okay, so there are at least 3. I'm trying to think, I think there might be one more I'm missing. Of course, I'm sure it'll come to me as soon as I'm done with this video, but there are 3 types of plants, companion plants, that you can plant in your garden. One of them I just showed you, which is the true comfrey and the sweet potato. So those are fertilizers. So those are great to have incorporated into your orchard and into your garden, as everything else is that I'm going to talk about here. The other one is the attractor. Now the attractor is the plants that attract your pollinators. Those are really important to have if you have plants or trees that actually need cross-pollination or just a little bit extra help. The third one are your repellents, and those are your plants that repel the bad insects, and they're supposed to keep them out of your garden. So those are the 3. So I've got a little bit of all 3 that I've started incorporating into the garden. So here is the next one that I wanted to show you now. So this is borage, I usually say, but I'm sure it's just plain old borage. And it is, I planted this one from seed. It is my pollinator, or my attractor. So you can see these little flowers here, and you can see the little bee buzzing around there already. Bees love this plant. Now, once again, not only is this plant an attractor, it is also a medicinal plant, and you can actually take these little flowers that are here, and you can put those flowers into your salads, or you can make a tea with this plant. Aren't those pretty? Look at how pretty purple that is. And it just adds a real nice touch to your garden. And there we go. There's a pollinator right there. We have some neighbors that actually have beehives, so I'm stoked about that, because now I can actually have some free pollinators nice and close to our orchard and our garden. So these are just little cement ones, and you may have heard, but these are not supposed to be the healthiest when you're trying to grow your own fruits and vegetables, because some say that the cement kind of gives off some kind of chemical, but they really do make great little easy planters and cheap planters as well. So if you're going for the cost effective and you're not quite so worried about these type of planters, then they work great. Cement blocks work great for that. Okay, so that's my borage, and I also have some tomatoes. Now I have a lot of tomatoes that I've decided to plant in here, and so I kind of used up these space. So I've got some Romas and some a couple other different tomatoes in here. Now this is my canoe that I'm sure you saw in my last video, and this is kind of just been overtaken by all the strawberries. I'm not quite ready to pull out my thyme yet because my thyme actually does act as a repellent for insects. So I decided I'm not going to pull it out, but I might end up trimming it. Come on, thing one. You're not supposed to be in there. This little batch of strawberries I grew from seed also. And so this is the first year that it's growing. And so let me show you this strawberry. So it's called Alpine yellow strawberry. Actually, not Alpine, I'm sorry. That one I had troubles with it, but that is the Alpine, I'm sorry, gosh, the yellow pineapple strawberry. I am so sorry. Oh, silly me. It is not. It is a pineapple strawberry. Sorry, guys. I've got a lot of different strawberry seeds, so sometimes I get confused. But this little strawberry here. Okay. So, you know those hard candies? Jolly Ranchers. That's what it tastes like. They taste just like lemon, like a lemon type Jolly Rancher. Oh my gosh, they're so good, and they're so different. I did not expect for that kind of flavor to come from these strawberries, but it totally did, and I'm so glad I planted them. Now the only problem with my strawberry bed is that I've run out of room, so now I'm gonna have to figure out something else because I really do want to grow some more strawberries. I made a little bit of strawberry jam this year already just from this little bed, and I usually just kind of eat them as I'm out here, and the boys, you know, will eat the strawberries, but those are really good. I like those. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you is now let's get to my hügelkultur beds, and I'll tell you all about how these are working out in our garden. Okay, so here's my first one and my biggest one. I grew in this one last year with success. I did have a problem with gophers coming in and eating carrots out of this bed, and I had grown all my tomatoes. So this year I've done something a little bit differently. So let me back up here and you can see. I don't know if you could see that so well, but we decided this year to do cattle panel. So this is the nice, I don't think this is the heaviest gauge cattle panel, but it's the nice thick cattle panel. And I'll tell you what I'm growing in a second, but let's first talk about the hügelkultur bed. So last year we had a problem with the rain, and so I was watering my hügelkultur bed, and I haven't quite learned in completeness how much moisture these are holding. However, I will tell you that I haven't watered in 2 weeks now. Yes, we've had some rain, but a lot of the rain has missed us. So I think it was now maybe 2.5 weeks ago where we got 6 inches of rain. I have not watered these hügelkultur beds, and I've got my other grave sites right over here. I haven't watered them in over 2 weeks now. I've watered some of the other things like my hanging planters that I have. I'll go over that one in just a minute. I'll tell you what that one is. But I haven't watered these in over 2 weeks, and everything seems to be doing just fine. I just harvested a large harvest of my lettuce right here and my spinach that's over on that side. That side right there. But so it is holding the water, even though I didn't necessarily think it was. And the reason why I know that it's holding water, because in one of my other hügelkultur beds, I have a cabbage, and you can totally tell when the cabbage starts to wilt that it's not very happy, especially in the hot sun. But I was coming out even in the hot sun, and it actually didn't look bad. I mean, it wasn't wilted at all. So I think it's working. And I'll tell you a little bit later as what my plan is to actually do in the rest of the garden. But then that comes after something else I'm going to tell you, but I'll tell you that in a second. But first of all, let's go ahead and look at this garden bed. Okay, so what do I got growing in here? So up on this side of the trellis, I have cucumbers. So I've got 2 cucumber plants growing up here. And my purpose of growing these cucumber plants is kind of a test for growing my artichokes. Last year I tried growing these artichokes and they died, and I don't know if it was because of the heat or just because maybe the compost pile was too big because it was a brand new hügelkultur bed and it needed some time. But I was hoping that these will go ahead and start to trellis up, and they're going to add the shade because this direction of us is the south and that direction is the north. So hopefully those will give some extra shade to these artichokes so that they can go ahead and grow prolifically. And then on this side, I have pinto beans. Now, I found this awesome website. It's from farmersalmanac.com, and they have what is called a garden planner. And the garden planner, I was actually able to go in, put in the parameters of our garden and come up with a plan, make beds. So I put all of my beds that I have here and then actually lay out my plants. Now, the really cool thing about this garden planner, it does cost a subscription. So I figured, okay, I'll go ahead and give it a try for a year. And if it doesn't serve its purpose, then, you know, so I lost like, I think $30 or $40, somewhere around in there. Not a big deal, but it has been so amazing for me so far. So I laid out where I was going to plant my plants. It told me how many plants I could lay out in that specific area. So I put all in the dimensions of all of my beds that I have and laid it all out, put in all the plants. It tells you companion plants that you can grow with your plants. It tells you when to sow your seed if you're going to sow seeds. It tells you when to plant the plant. It tells you about the time that it's time to harvest. And it's all set up, guys, for my growing zone, which is awesome because I knew what I could grow in California. I didn't know what I could really grow here in Texas. And so I've been following that, and that has been so helpful. Then it also comes along with a garden journal that I've been able... So I come out here every day, and whatever I do every day, I just jot it down in the journal. And, you know, it asks you, did you tend, did you water, what did you do to your garden? And you just click everything, and you click all the plants that you watered, and you do that, and voila, you have like this planner that you can go to next year. So I'm using that. Another resource that I actually was using to kind of lay out what I wanted to do in the garden as well was, I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of Melissa K. Norris, but she has put together an awesome spreadsheet and a wonderful books and a whole journal also that you can, you know, what did you plant? What does your family eat? How much of it do you eat a year? And she actually has the calculations there so where you can plant according to how much your family eats a year. So if you're a family that really, I'm sorry, my guineas are really going crazy right now. I've got a guinea laying on eggs, and so they're being protected. It really lays out like what you're going to need. So I've planted a lot of the same stuff this year because I'm kind of just trying it out, and I want to try different things. Like I want to dehydrate this year. I want to can this year. And I want to eat from our garden this year. So those are the things that we're doing. So anyways, that was a whole sidetrack. So let me get back to what I've got here. So one thing that I did learn, and this is kind of why I started talking about it, is from the garden journal that I have in the garden planner. I realized that when I planted my edamame on the opposite side of my pinto beans, they're not really supposed to be planted next to pinto beans, but So it is what it is this year. I won't make that mistake again, but hopefully they'll all come out to be okay. So let me go and show you what the edamame looks like. Okay, so here's the edamame. So they are taking a lot longer actually to take off. I was quite surprised. So it'll be interesting to see how well they grow. But apparently they can grow here. And edamame is a good companion plant to cucumbers, as well as the beans, the pinto beans on the other side for cucumbers. So that's why I have them both trellised up on these trellises. So I've got my artichokes in here. I've got some lettuce that I have already harvested from, and got a ton of lettuce. We've been eating through that lettuce in salads. It's the first time I think we've ever ate so many salads. And love this lettuce. I had another lettuce that I had grown right here, and it didn't really ever come up. So I'm going to plant some more lettuce, because when this goes to seed, I want to still be able to harvest some lettuce. And hopefully with now these trellises, we'll get some shade cover and they will grow fine this winter. But let me come over here and show you two things that I have going on here. So this plant, and sorry, this is one that I didn't quite water quite enough as I should be, but this is called a rue plant. And a rue is a medicinal plant. It's great for ear infections. So if your family is prone to get ear infections, that is a great plant for that. But it's also a repellent. So this is one of my repellents that I have in here to keep some of the bugs away. And thing one, come on, babe, you got to come out, sweet pea. Now this is my calendula. So I'm sure most of you already know marigolds and calendulas are great as repellents. And so I also have grown one on this side and then one on the other side. And I'll probably try and mix some more in between the artichokes as well. But that's what I've got going on. So next to my lettuce, I've got my carrots. So hopefully the little bugger won't attack my carrots this year, and I could actually harvest some carrots. I've been harvesting some carrots from my greenhouse right now. Those are growing real well, and I'm almost through those. So hopefully these ones will start coming up real soon. And something else that I learned, do not plant parsnip next to carrots. They're not supposed to be planted. I didn't realize that, again, until I was planning out my garden, and the garden journal told me that, you know, those are not plants that you should plant next to each other. But oh well, so I did. So we'll see. They're not totally close together because the parsnips didn't really grow, but I love growing parsnip. I actually, when I went on a juice fast several years ago for a couple weeks, parsnip was one of the ingredients into some of the smoothies. And so I was juicing them, and I really actually liked the way that they tasted. And you know, when you separate the juice, you just get the fibers of it. And so I would just sit there and snack on the fibers because they really are good. But you can use them just like carrots. So, you know, if you make stew or anything like that, they take on the flavor of whatever you put them in, and they're just great. So I like to grow parsnip now. So I'm growing that. And then I'm also growing carrots and beets in this space. So there are those. So those are my beets, and those are actually doing pretty good. I think we're getting pretty close to being able to harvest those, and there's some of my spinach. Now the cats got in here. I know cats shouldn't be in a garden, but right now there's just no real way of keeping them out of our garden. But so I mean, I'm only missing a couple, I guess, really. The rest of them are all growy, and I just harvested those as well. So over here, we also did another one of these little cattle panel tunnels as well. And you guys, these are really easy to put together. My son and I did this. So you take the T-post, you just put a T-post in on either side, and then you just wrap the cattle panel around, right, inside of the T-post area, and then just take, and we didn't even do it with this one because Eric didn't think that we needed to, and we haven't needed to, but you can take like wire ties or zip ties or something, and you can actually, you know, hook them onto the T-post and they come out real easy. So this is my other hügelkultur bed. These are the ones that we call graves because they're just, you know, small enough, perfect size for graves. So these are all our burial graves. We've got Aiden, Joshua, and Justin. They're all ready to go. And then Mom over there, and I don't know, I guess we still need to build one for Dad, but maybe when we die, those will be our burial sites. Who knows? Just kidding. But anyway, so they are called graves because when Aiden was digging them out, he said he felt like he was digging a grave. I said, well, you kind of are because you're going to be burying a bunch of wood in it. But anyway, so this is my pepper plant. So the three big ones I did not grow from seed, I think. Yeah. Everything else I've grown from seed, and I kind of got a late start because of the freeze. I had everything planted before the freeze, but no such luck. They all died when it froze. But again, I've got beans growing up on this side, and I've got beans growing up on this side, which you can't see very well because I'm trying to let my cilantro here go to seed. This one grew on its own from seed that I didn't plant of my own doing. And I've already chopped this one, I think half of it off. That's not the whole, that's the second time I went around. But I'll let these go to seed and then I'll collect them. And you know what? They just add a really good pollinator to the environment because they're in the seed time. So that also will actually help the rest of the garden. But you can see here that I'm already starting to get some pinto beans. So these are pinto beans on both sides. So these I will actually go ahead and leave on here until they dry out. And so when their outer covering turns brown and hard, they should be ready to harvest. So I will harvest those. I'll get a gauge as to actually how many actual pinto beans we get from this, and then I'll know going forward for next year, do I need to plant more pinto beans? What do I need to do here? So that's kind of a project right now also. Another thing that we have going on this year, which we did a little bit differently than last year, is our corn. Now, the boys had a project last year growing corn, and we have this flat area that is not a hügelkultur bed, but this flat area in which we put a bunch of straw down and then we planted all of them. And the weeds got so bad that the boys gave up. They said, we're done. We don't want to go digging in there. There might be snakes. You never know whatever happened. But so the corn did go to seed, so that was a good thing. So I was actually able to harvest the seed, and of course those seeds were adapted to a drought environment and weeds, and so they should be much more resilient this year. And so let me show you what those look like. I don't know, guys, and we might get some more storm. Can you hear all that thunder in the background? I decided to do this at the perfect time, didn't I? I knew I wanted to do it when it's cool, and now the breeze is picking up, so it feels really nice out here. But anyways, so this is our corn. So if you can see, we actually put down cloth, black garden cloth is what it was. I got this, a whole huge roll of it at Walmart for $30. And so we decided this year what we were gonna do, so we laid down the black cloth, and then Eric and Aiden cut up these PVC pipes for me, and I've got one over here that is out because we didn't need it. So this is about a 3-inch PVC pipe, I believe, and they cut it to about 2 inches in length. And so we just, cut out little holes for these and then just stuck them right into the ground and planted the corn seeds right in there. So this is looking beautiful so far, and guess what? There are no weeds. So that is awesome. And I did do some companion planting with this, although not enough, but I do have some squash that is growing, and I'm excited because I've never had any luck growing squash before, and this might be my first. Well, I did have luck growing zucchini, but never squash. So this will be my first time. So I'm excited about that. Potatoes, it's so sad. I got to dig them out but I'm hoping that they survive. Last year, we did so good with our potatoes. I think I said tomatoes. I don't know. I mean potatoes. And this year, the weeds really took over. Last year, I had actually put a shade cloth over it so that the bugs wouldn't get to the potato plants. And, well, they've been gotten to, and then the weeds took over. So I'm going to dig out the potatoes and see what I can salvage out of it and see if we actually even got a harvest this year. So keep your fingers crossed for me. I hopefully we did. But, okay. So this is some more cilantro that grew on its own without my help. This area I kept trying to plant some tomatillos in this one, and I was having a heck of a time. And so that leads me to the next thing that I wanted to explain to you. So with the hügelkultur beds, what I was noticing, a big mistake that I was making was that I was losing my dirt. My dirt kept falling down every time I watered it. And so I did a little bit of research that I probably knew when I first thought about doing hügelkultur beds, but it didn't really kind of sink into this noggin. And so they said just put a ton of straw or hay on top of it, and that will hold in your dirt. So I decided to try and germinate some tomatillos, which it might be too late in the season, but I'm trying to germinate some of those and grow those in here by way of plant, because it definitely is better to grow in these hügelkultur beds as plants than it is as seeds. So I highly recommend, if you do decide that you would like to do something like a hügelkultur bed in your garden, that you plant plants in there, unless you're really educated and know what you're doing when you plant seeds, because it doesn't work out. I tried that with our peppers as well, and nothing grew. So I germinated those, so I have more that I'm going to put in. So we've got both hot peppers and different types of bell peppers. I'm really excited about the bell peppers that I have planted in here. So these are, well, this is a banana pepper, so there's nothing special about that one. And something ate my other one over there. And I've got red peppers, but I've got poblano pepper this year. And I've got a Romanian pepper and a negro pepper. I can't even say the first word, so I'm not going to attempt to it. And then I'll grow some orange bell peppers. But I'm really excited about the negro pepper and the and my Romanian, because I've never had those before, and they're both heirlooms. So if they are successful this year, I will keep growing them. There is my one cabbage that is left. My geese ate my other two, so I was really bummed about that. So I was trying something different with my tomato plants. I have not, you guys, found a good way to grow tomatoes. Okay, so my tomato plants, which are here now behind me, I've tried the cages for tomatoes, hated it. I tried running string through them. I hated that. It's just, maybe it's because I'm not pruning it well. I'm still learning how to prune tomatoes. Hopefully this year I'll be a little bit more successful in it. But I decided to grow my tomatoes right at the edge of one of my hügelkultur beds. And so last year I grew cucumbers here. So I've got cattle panel here that is actually at an angle that you can see. And I'm growing my tomatoes up. And I don't know, I guess it's kind of hard to see it. Maybe we could see it better from this side. But they're actually growing at an angle. And I did tie some of them down already to it so that they kind of grow up at an angle. And I'm hoping that some of the fruit, well, all the fruit actually is on the other side right now, but as it gets taller, that some of that fruit will just kind of hang down, maybe from the cattle panel. We'll see. It is an experiment, another one of my experiments here. I've got some basil growing in here and some marigolds that I have planted from seed. So hopefully those will help to keep some of the bugs away too. So those are really good repellent, and I think marigolds are edible as well. I'm not sure that I want to eat them. Hey guys, that is my garden. She may not be pretty, but she does have purpose, and it is so enjoyable to be able to get food from something that you grew. And I tell you, my family eats a lot more when I make it, because they know that I'm so excited about it and they want to be supportive of it. And I don't slave out here for no reason, so they're gonna eat it anyways. So yeah, but if you have any questions or any comments, don't hesitate to leave them down below. I would love to hear what your successes are, especially, and if you have any questions about what I've done. You know, I'm always willing to learn, and I'm always trying new things, as you can see. Everything's always a project here. And yeah, so I just like to hear about it. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed my video and my update on my garden. I will see you guys all later. Talk to you later. Bye. Ooh, doesn't that look gnarly? I think I'll be going in now. Thanks y'all for watching my video today. I really appreciate it, but I think I need to call it quits for now. Look at that. If you can hear the thunder, oh my goodness, and I just saw some lightning, so I am heading inside. Bye.